The Toronto Blue Jays have a noticeable hole at the designated hitter position, and the fan base has been clamoring for guys like either JD Martinez or Jorge Soler. But I'm here to tell you why Joc Pederson may be the right man for the job and fits the bill when it comes to versatility for the Toronto Blue Jays. So we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Now, Joc Pederson is a guy whose name has been brought up countless times. There's not been much progress made on that front. We don't know how close they are to a deal, but the Jays have been rumored with him the most out of any of the three names that I mentioned in the intro, and that was JD Martinez, Jorge Soler, and Joc Pederson. So he's a realistic target. He's a guy that wouldn't cost too much money. I think his best days are behind him, but he's still a very productive hitter against right-handed pitching. He's a non-factor against lefties, but this is a guy that can really help out the Blue Jays lineup against righties. And after that, I guess they could figure it out. They could go with some internal options like Davis Schneider or whatnot, but there are some possibilities with Joc Pederson coming aboard, and I think I'm warming up to the idea, Nick.
Yeah, he's probably the most. He might end up being the most reliable out of all the guys that we've discussed so far. A quick reminder to hit the subscribe button before you get into it. About 70% of you guys who are watching are not subscribed. So scroll down, and if you aren't already, hit the button. Now, Peter, there's a few reports that have circulated, and we'll just be kind of discussing what we think of Joc Pederson. A lot of fans out there aren't super excited about the prospect of him. When you actually go in depth and look at the stats, they're very, very, very intriguing, especially the last couple of years as a Giant. And this kind of came out from Ben Nicholson-Smith yesterday. He's basically saying that meaningful free agent talks were ongoing over the weekend, as you expect. Atkins obviously has been pretty cryptic about it. Ben Nicholson-Smith tried a video. All these guys have linked to him. You have some reports from people who aren't necessarily super reliable saying there's made progress in a deal. Don't take too much into that. It's up to you whether you want to believe this random guy or not. But the point is that we know that there's been reports about Joc Pederson, and Peter, I think he makes a lot of sense, and I almost think at this point it might be inevitable that this is the guy we end up with, either him or Jorge Soler, but meaningful free agent talks were ongoing over the weekend, which is a pretty big update, and I would not be surprised if it is ultimately Joc Pederson that they're having talks with.
Yeah, he's got good peripherals. He's a guy that gets on base, hits for some power when he is in the lineup. Doesn't stay always healthy. I mean, he's sort of injured every now and then, but the reason why I think he is the most realistic target for them is not because he's the best out of the three. I think he's the worst hitter out of the three if we're taking all of them into account. But I don't know if the Blue Jays want to tie down the DH position full time to one guy. Because if you look up and down this lineup, there are guys in there that you want to get in on some off days to DH and whatnot. Like Vladdy's going to need some DH days, maybe. Bo might need a couple if he has a couple of injuries there. Like let's say he's got a sore knee one day and he can't really range at shortstop, then he might need a DH day. And then who do you take out? So you're going to take out your DH, and then you're getting rid of a middle of the order bat. So there are going to be guys that need maintenance days throughout the season. Obviously, George Springer as well is one of those guys. He's been one of those guys ever since he's come to Toronto. So you need that backup plan, and Joc Pederson would only play against right-handed pitching. Therefore, it opens up spots against left-handed pitching to get more righties in the lineup, to give George Springer a day, to get Danny Jansen and Alejandro Kirk both in the lineup if they're hot. So it gives them more flexibility. I don't think he's the best player of the three that we've discussed, but he's definitely serviceable against righties and would help in that regard.
Yeah, I think JD Martinez is probably the best hitter, but let's also not forget Joc Pederson is coming off of obviously a kind of a down season, but in 2022 he had a near 900 OPS in 134 games, and he's very good. But like you said, he's older, I guess older compared to Jorge Soler, and Jorge Soler would also give you that versatility to a degree because he can play the outfield position even if it's at a very poor clip. Pederson's a mediocre defender; he's not horrible, but I tend to agree with you. Joc is only 31 years old, which is a bit young considering he's been in the league for 10 years. But I think the Jays also might just be leaning towards a left-handed hitter as opposed to a right-handed hitter, kind of for the ways that you mentioned, specifically tying up that DH position, can mash against righties. Obviously, a lot of our outfielders are already lefties, specifically Kiermaier and Varsho, and I discussed it in a video, I think we did as well. If you get Jorge Soler, he can kind of slide into the left field spot on occasion against left-handed pitching to open that up, so you only have to play one of Varsho or Kiermaier. But I think it'll be between I mean, I don't know at this point. We really don't know. Like, some reports are coming out that they're going for Joc Pederson. Some reports are saying Jorge Soler. And I don't know. I'm definitely Rhys Hoskins is another guy who got brought up as well. Like, there's a lot of different guys that keep getting named, but I think Joc just fits the bill the most, at least in Rhys
Yeah.
Hoskins' mind. He is a lefty. He's only 31, and he's coming off of, even though he still had a down season, his peripherals are off the charts and have been most of his career. And you could argue and make an argument that Joc Pederson would be a more reliable option than Jorge Soler. Now, the ceiling isn't as high, but he could end up being the better hitter next season.
Maybe, but I'm not big on the righty lefty thing, Nick, because we saw the Blue Jays really try and balance their lineup last year, and it didn't work out too well. So I'm just I couldn't really care about righty lefty now in free agency. I just want them to go get the best hitter, but I can see why they are going for a lefty here. It's to not tie down that DH position. We know that they've been hesitant to just go out and acquire a full-time DH. The last one that I remember is maybe Kendrys Morales in like 2019 or whatever, or 2018, whenever he was here. So the Blue Jays just don't do that. That's not something that has been in their DNA. Joc Pederson can play the outfield, not at a good level, but he could get in there every now and then if someone else needs a maintenance day or whatnot. So you want to have that flexibility as much as you can. But when it comes to righty lefty, I don't really care about it. Jorge Soler would give you that same sort of flexibility. Obviously, he's a right-handed hitter, but he would be able to play the outfield in a pinch. He would not have to be in the lineup every single day, and I think that would help. And he's younger as well. He's younger, and he's coming off a much better season, so I would entertain the idea of Jorge Soler as well.
Yeah, either one to me is pretty good. And another thing with Soler versus Joc is obviously Soler hits for more power. Joc had one season hitting above 30 home runs. Soler's done that a few times and coming off of one of the best seasons of his career. And quickly before we wrap up, Peter, I do want to get your thoughts. I mentioned it briefly on Rhys Hoskins. We kind of discussed him a while ago. Do you have any thoughts on him? Would he be kind of your last option between Martinez, Soler, and Joc Pederson? This is another report saying that from Mark Feinstein that Toronto could use Hoskins and Vladdy at first base and the DH giving each other that off day. And I mean, Hoskins didn't play last season, but when he has played, he's been very good back-to-back seasons with above an 850 OPS in his last season, approaching an 800 OPS. I mean, his defense is not very good. He would be more of a first base replacement. This would be more of the Brandon Belt exact replacement, albeit he's a right-handed hitter. Do you have any quick thoughts on him before I wrap up? I thought it was an interesting target, and I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they get either one of these guys.
There's just some uncertainty there because he missed all of last season with an ACL injury. It's not crucial for a baseball player. You're not cutting, you're not using edges like you are in hockey. So it's not that big of a deal. I think he'll make a comeback. He's what, 31, 32 years old at this stage right now. So he's got some left in the tank. He's got big time power. And again, I don't care about the righty lefty. Go get a really good hitter and round out this lineup. That's what the Blue Jays need right now. Rhys Hoskins is a very good hitter, but he doesn't give you that versatility that maybe a Joc Pederson or Jorge Soler would give you, or even a JD Martinez to that extent. I don't think Rhys Hoskins is going to play much outfield in the near future. So I like him as a player. I always liked his intensity in Philly. I think he's a good guy to have in your clubhouse as well. So yeah, sure. All four of these guys that we've spoken about this video: JD Martinez, Jorge Soler, Joc Pederson, Rhys Hoskins. I like all of their profiles as players. I like everything that they could bring to this Blue Jays team. And if you bring either one of them aboard, they make you a better club. And that's all I'm looking for. That's all I'm caring about if I'm a Blue Jay fan. I want this team to improve steadily. I believe they're good right now. Bring one of these guys aboard. They get very good. Maybe a couple guys aboard. Then you're great.
Yeah, and it seems like that's what's going to be hopefully happening soon. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know out of the four guys we discussed, which one is your number one priority. I know a lot of Jays fans didn't seem too excited about Joc, but I'm kind of on board. Him or Jorge Soler for me would be great. Or JD Martinez, though, like you said, I think the flexibility kind of limits that. But thank you guys for watching. If you want to check out our video from yesterday, click on your screen now. We'll see you tomorrow.